Hello, everybody. Today is our first day of our online engine performance class, which is the very first one that I've ever done. So we'll see how this kind of goes, but I'll get better and better and better as we go. Um, so we're going to be online now. And as far as labs go, I do not know how this is going to play out yet. It doesn't look like they will allow classes for summer 1 and summer 2, which poses the possibility of summer 3. However, it's up in the air because you haven't had demonstrations for some of these other ones, and so we'll play it by ear. We'll see how things go. I will be adjusting the weight of the grades in the grade book as we go once I know how things are playing out. So don't get hung up what's there as long as you're doing all your work. I will change them accordingly, and I'll bring the grades in line, and I'll keep you posted as I know things. All right. So this is the way things are going to go. I'm going to make a video once I post this to Canvas, and I will have a video that takes you on a tour of where everything's going to be located. Your lessons are going to come as video. Sometimes they might be live, and I'll tell you ahead of time if they're going to be. I'm going to try to do my best. You'll probably get to see my Corvette because that's the one that's the easiest to get to things where I can video it. But that's how we'll get you to lessons. I'm going to break up a lesson into shorter sections. So this whole thing might be an hour long, and I'll break it up into like 6 or 7 minutes where I'll make a part 2 and then a part 3. This way you can watch them in sections and then go from there. Once you're done watching these videos, you're going to be required to join in a discussion post. It'll be in the discussions area. You'll see you have that choice now. When you go in there, you say something about what you learned, something that's new, something that you're interested in, a question that you have, and somebody else can sit down and either put something new on or comment on yours. I want to see activity from everybody. This is how I'm going to do attendance. I can't see you. If you post in that discussion, you're here. If you don't, you're absent. That's how I think I'm going to roll with it. When you're done with the video, you'll also have a quiz. 5 questions that come back to what you learned in that presentation. This stuff comes from your book. So you're going to have a homework assignment. I'll tell you on this, it's going to be chapter 66 in the 5th edition and 68 in the 6th edition. You're going to go through those chapters, and that will give you the same material that you're getting out of this for the most part. These will be put in a YouTube video that I will put in the in Canvas, and I'll take you to where that's going to be. All right. Homework will be listed in there. If I want everybody going to the announcements area first. Okay, why? Because I'm going to make an outline of everything that's relevant for this week's worth of stuff. Here's the video to watch. Here's the quiz. Here's the discussion. Here's your homework, and anything else I might put on there. So you're going to go to announcements as soon as you log in, and then you'll go to whatever the assignments are. You should all know that the midterm exam is posted. I'm hoping that you saw that already, and that will take place on Tuesday during our regular class period. All right. So I figure let's start with fuels. Let's start with something that's a little bit smaller, a little narrower as our first lesson that we're going to do. As you can tell, we are a gasoline society, right? Little by little, we're pushing towards electric, and there's some dreamers thinking that hydrogen will be in one day, which would be nice if it was, but it's not going to happen so quickly. And if you look around, why is it that gasoline has been our staple for so many years? Well, I think right now you're going to see gas close to $1 somewhere along the way. I think there's someplace out west that has 99-cent fuel. I believe that Costco is $1 in the high $1.80s now, right? Gasoline is cheap. And right now you have instability that's making it happen. You have the Middle East fighting with Russia over the cheapest stuff to sell. And now with the economy the way it is, it's really plummeted. Nobody's going to rush to buy an electric car if gasoline is cheap, even though the environmentally aspect of it is the reason for going to electric. So anyway, so let's look at gasoline because that's our thing, right? There's nobody here that's going to be buying something other than that, I think, in your lifetime, unless you buy electric. But again, the limitations of battery keep us in gasoline. Okay, so our gasoline, right, is a complex mixture of a bunch of stuff, different hydrocarbons refined from crude petroleum, and that becomes fuel in our engines, right? Oil comes out of the ground, and they make a whole ton of stuff out of it that you're going to see very shortly. Gasoline is the most commonly used fuel source, and somewhere along the way it'll be replaced, but there's no shortage of gasoline now, so I don't see that happening. We were told growing up many moons ago, gasoline's going to be gone by such and such, and it hasn't happened, and I don't think it will. If you've noticed, gas prices being the way it is caused people to buy more efficient cars and drive differently, right? And once you get a habit of something, you don't change from it. It becomes how you are forever. So there's plenty of gasoline. Right. Where does it come from? Right? It shoots out of the ground, and all kinds of stuff comes from it. So you can see that more than half of it becomes gasoline. Distillate fuel oil, right, is 15.3%. It's next level up. Jet fuel at 12.3. Still gas makes you think of moonshine, 5.4. Marketable coke. It's not what you think, so get your mind out of the gutter. I suspect that is the residual stuff that's left afterwards that they can take and sell it to turn it into something else. Residential fuel oil, so the oil in your home, 3.3% of it comes from. Liquefied refinery gas, right? Here's all your propanes and all that kind of stuff. Then you see we get asphalt and road oil from it. And then we get a whole bunch of other stuff, 1.5%. We get lubricants, your WD-40s, things like that, right? Stuff like that comes from it. And it comes from different processes. And if you look, this is one of the pictures, and it shows that you have a distillation tower. This is if you drive through Elizabeth and you see those big towers and those refineries with the flame on top. That's what's going on inside them. The flame on top is making sure that none of these terrible gases make it out of there and they burn it up rather than let it release into the atmosphere. So you can see you got different things all the way through as you go up. You can see heavy gas oil, just medium weight gas oil, distillate diesel, kerosene, naphtha, LPG, which is liquefied petroleum gas, gasoline vapors. You see all these things that rise. So they cook off the lower stuff, and naturally as that stuff boils off, you're left with stuff that rises out of it, and they capture it along the way. To the middle of it, you'll see all these processes. You see cokers and cracking units and alkalization and reformers and all that kind of stuff going on. And you'll see that through these processes, you get asphalt base, right? That's the heaviest stuff because that's the stuff, right? It doesn't rise. It turns into cake, and they turn that into asphalt. You got industrial fuel. You got motor gasoline, jet fuel, and diesel fuel coming from cracking units. You got LPG gasoline coming out of the alkalization unit. You got diesel fuel coming straight out of the column. You got jet fuel coming higher than that. You've got gasoline that comes through a reformer and LPG all the way at the top, right? If you look at this next one gives you another little way of looking at this stuff, right? So it's a little easier to see. You got your distillation column, and you can see your processes that lead to what they are on the right, right? You got residual processing, you got gas oil hydrotreating, you got catalytic cracking, you got gas oil hydrocracking, you got diesel hydrocracking, you got jet hydrotreating, you got naphtha hydrotreating. Try to say that 10 times fast. And at the type, you got light petroleum gas treating, right? So these things are being baked off as they go through this column. They literally cook it. And the heavy stuff settles to the bottom and the light stuff rises to the top. If you look at some of these things, there's some interesting stuff, right? So you got cracking, and cracking's the process where hydrocarbons are, with higher boiling points, could be broken down or cracked into lower boiling hydrocarbons by treating them to very high temperatures. This started in 1913 is when that stuff went. What they do today is called catalytic cracking, right? So catalyst material speeds up this process, causes the chemical reaction, and it turns whatever goes through it into something else, right? It's a permanent chemical change. The catalytic cracking produces gasoline of higher quality than the thermal cracking, right? Hydrocracking is similar to the catalytic stuff, but it's done in an atmosphere of hydrogen. So you can imagine how hot that thing gets. It can break down hydrocarbons that are resistant to the catalytic cracking alone, and this is produced to make diesel fuel and only diesel fuel. So it's interesting to see how they get it. If you look at some of these things, you can see over here petroleum coke, right? And you follow where that comes from. Bunker fuel, ship fuel, the fuel that's used in ships is different. Also real fat from the bottom. You got diesel coming out of here. You have jet fuel coming out of here. You have aviation gasoline coming out of here, different from jet fuel. Motor gasoline. Here's your regular gasoline. Now at the top here, you got all those things that are vapors. So you got xylene, you got benzene, you got propane, and you got sulfur, right? We can't let sulfur go into the air, so we recapture it and we turn it into something that's usable, right? When you think of crude oil, right? Crude oil is what comes out of the ground. Well, thin oil is considered high gravity crude. Thick oil is low gravity crude. Low sulfur, if you look at all these diesels now, they all use a very ultra low sulfur diesel fuel. Low sulfur is sweet crude and high sulfur is sour crude.